Hello, and welcome to the We Get to Do This podcast. My name is Kaley.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are your co-hosts.
In this show, we're going to dive into all things our lives, from our partnership to romance to entrepreneurship to growing our businesses together, our fitness journeys, and we're going to have a ton of different guests on that relate to what I just said in some way. We're hoping you enjoy the show, and if you do,
please feel free to follow us, leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and enjoy.
And if you don't like the show, tough. Thank you.
Thanks. Hello, and welcome to the We Get to Do This podcast.
That's awkward.
Blooper.
Maybe if we can figure out how Zencastr will allow us to do it. Oh, no, there is an intro. Ignore that part. Welcome back. How are you tonight,
Welcome
Kaley?
back. Clearly, Jacob hasn't been on here for a few weeks.
I haven't podcasted for a while. I don't remember how to talk. I don't remember how to work the sound bar. Nothing.
It's a good week to be back. Are you alive?
Yeah, barely. No, I'm good now. I got the sickness out of the way, so now we get to taper.
Mm-hmm. How many weeks?
3 weeks from today. In 3 weeks, I will be done with the marathon.
Yay.
Which is exciting. Yeah, it's exciting.
Exciting for everyone.
It's what?
Exciting for everyone.
Yeah, I think we're all excited. It's we're getting to the dog days of CIM training for sure. The last month, or October and November. Well, October is a pretty fun month. And then I'd say around this time in November, you see everyone else chilling and you're like, all right, I think I'm ready to take a break, but you don't get to yet. So
the weather's been pretty much cooperating though. For
yeah,
the most part.
I mean, we got through, I think it's supposed to snow on Monday, maybe this week or something, we still have, I'm going to probably do 50 miles this week, and next week will probably be like 40. So it's not like I'm done running by any means, but for the most part, in like the very quality peak of the training cycle, blah, 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 there has not been snow, and it hasn't been that cold. I had to wear pants like twice so far.
Yeah.
Which is lucky.
Yeah, I went on a bike ride today and was in shorts.
And it's November 17th. Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
It's almost Thanksgiving. We should do a grateful episode on Thanksgiving.
I was thinking about that.
That'd be fun. So, episode, is it 17? Yeah, episode 17. How are you feeling in general, Kaley? What's been going on in your life? Before we get into the meat and butter of this episode, what we're going to talk about.
I've been getting into my feminine lately.
Yeah? The Anna stuff? The Anna episode inspired you a little bit?
That inspired me, and we're getting into a more yin time of the year, which is more of like the resting and going inward.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what fall and winter are all about. And normally I just keep plowing through because I'm, training for a race, and that's just my personality. But I'm really going to embrace the recovery, the rest. And I have 3 R's: recovery, rest, and receiving. Those are my big words for the winter.
Do you want to break those all down more? What does that look like for you right now, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, so when I'm talking about like getting in the feminine, I feel like that can go a lot of ways, but I have been meditating. This is a new thing. Started 4 days ago with the goal of meditating every day for a week, which normally I'm not about, just going straight into doing something every day that I haven't been doing in a while. But I started getting like jaw pain, where like, not even jaw, but like my masseter muscles. So like the muscles like in your cheeks that like allow you to chew and stuff have just been like super tight. And I've never experienced that before. And then I went to see my chiropractor at Northwestern this week. And immediately she was like, how's the stress in your life? And there's just been a lot going on the last few weeks with like the political environment in the world, and just like I think a lot of things that maybe I hadn't acknowledged, I guess. And it's just crazy how the body remembers things from your past. And I think it was just holding in a lot of tension. So I had acupuncture, massage, and chiro last week. And after all of those, it helped a lot, but then it was still kind of like creeping back again. So I was like, I need to do something else myself. So I started meditating again. And honestly, like everyone who does meditate talks about how big of a difference it makes. And it's just something I just don't make the time for. But I've been using I really like the Calm app, and they have a daily 10-minute meditation that you can do. And it's just super easy to follow, and I don't have to worry about it. And I can just sit there. I know it's going to be 10 minutes long. And yeah, we're on day 3 I'm 3 for 4 right now. And I didn't do one day because I got the massage. So I figured that was pretty meditative in itself. And so I'm feeling a lot better until tonight. Now that we're getting ready for the work week again, it's slightly coming back. But anyways, that's one of the things I'm doing. And then I also journaled. And my massage therapist, Sarah, said that I should start doing more like creative things. And so I journaled, and my goal is to make candles here. I don't think I told you this, but I got a candle making kit like over a year ago, and I've just never done it. What's that look?
You did not tell me this.
It's in the laundry room on the shelf. But I'm going to make candles to express my creative side. And and I played piano yesterday, and it's feeling good just to like not do things that are, I feel like the productive thing is so hard. And because we've talked about this a lot, but it's like everything we do, it's like, okay, what's the point of this? Like, what's the health benefit, or what's the recovery benefit? And I'm still working on that. But at the same time, I do think all these things are good, like getting music back into my life and making things. And I feel like I've been cooking more and really enjoying that and exploring
Me too.
different recipes. Yeah, you really like.
I love your cooking.
You benefit from that. And yeah, I think it just makes me like a calmer person. And I have a very hard time sitting still. So I feel like these are good ways for, I see you. Big nods. These are good ways for me to rest a little bit, but still like feel productive and feel good. And it's baby steps for me. And if that means, meditating, piano, like those are still good things, I feel like.
Yeah.
And the meditating, like just to sit with yourself for even just 10 minutes a day. I mean, you sit and scroll on your phone for probably a lot more than 10 minutes a day, but to just like truly just sit there with your eyes closed, I feel like if everyone was doing that, it'd just bring a lot of benefit. And this is something I'm hoping to be doing all winter now, especially since I'm not doing like a bunch of hours training for something. And yeah, so that's kind of where I've been at, exploring some different avenues that I haven't done in a long time.
You've been working in.
Working inward.
Working in. I sat and drank coffee. I think this was like 10 days ago now. I sat and drank coffee.
Nice.
That was it. That was it. I know.
That's great.
I know. It was like for 5 minutes. It wasn't long. Yeah. But normally I'll get up and drink coffee and read or scroll my phone or do something, And I listened to your podcast with Anna and think she said something about doing that.
Yeah.
And so I remembered that, and it was like 5:30 in the morning, and I just like, I'm going to sit here for a little bit until I don't want to. Mm-hmm. I just did that, drank my coffee, and yeah, it was great. And I'm I think part of it is it's a mixture of things, right? It's like partly burnout. I don't like that term. It's not burnt out, but like getting tired of the routine you're in, right? So you want to switch things up. And also partly accepting that like the hustle mentality, it goes in waves, right? And when you're not in the mood to hustle hard, essentially, whether it's because things are going decent or because you're just tired of hustling, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, I just kind of have lately been feeling like I want to just do less, to put it very bluntly. I want to just do less things, and, example, right? Normally if I start my day at 7 or 6, like my first client's one of those times, I really like to get up at least 90 minutes, if not 2 hours beforehand, because I get to get up, drink coffee, read, do work for the day, whatever, right? But the thing is when I do that, it's like I start my work day right away. Realistically, I'm not really doing anything, any working in, or I'll maybe try to fit a run in, or different things like that. And right now I'm at a point where I'm I just don't want to do that. And I have gaps throughout my day, pretty much every day of depends on the day, but a lot of times I'll have gaps for an hour or two. I have that time built into the day. Right. So now I've been trying to be okay staying up a little later with you, for example. Maybe we go get dinner with friends or whatever, and then being okay sleeping in longer, and then taking advantage and being smarter with my time in the middle of the day. Right. Because what ends up happening is I get up, I try to work super hard in the morning, and then I go I feel flustered getting to my first clients, basically, because I'm so, worked up a little bit already. I'm usually running late because I'm trying to finish things in the morning. Right. And then my gaps, I'm filling them to be busy, but I'm not actually being productive because I did a lot of the stuff in the morning, so it's just, a lot of it's just time management, but it's that was a little bit of a tangent from what I was originally trying to say, but
no, I like it.
So that's kind of where
just
I'm
finding the need to not constantly be busy.
Yeah.
And I read something on Instagram the other day, and they're talking about with your phone, and they were try not bringing your phone to the bathroom and to the kitchen and to the bedroom. And something, I'm terrible at waking up and laying in bed for a little bit on my phone because I feel like I need a...
Your phone's not even next to your bed. It's usually
I know, I have to go. I have
Jacob,
to get
can
up.
you get my phone for me?
Or I get it if you're already up. But yeah, I physically have to get up, or you bring it over. And then I go back to bed just because I like to slowly wake up. But it's what if I just... I mean, there's so many different things I've heard of in the mornings, just lay in bed and almost daydream of where you want your life to be or where you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years. And, picturing if it's a house or family, and putting those thoughts into your mind first thing in the morning. Or since I'm on my meditation kick, if I don't know why it's so hard, but every morning I'm Kaley, just get up and go meditate. But my body still wants to be horizontal for a little bit. You're good at getting up and just going straight to the couch and starting to read and making your coffee. But it's all habits, and once I start doing that, even my meditation in the middle of the day, hopefully it'll just become habit and routine. But it's all a process.
Yeah. And like you say, you can tell that going into the winter, that's where these dips happen, right? And then you lean into it.
Yeah.
Because coming out of the winter, I'll be so fired up to train hard and work harder. And, although right now it's I want to train less and work more. I want to work more with clients and work more with the business. And so
there's different seasons for everything. And right now, like I said, I'm not having to train as hard, so I can fit in things like playing piano and cooking and doing different things that I just haven't had the mental capacity. It's not yes, it's time to, but there's just some things that I don't even have the capacity to think about, especially when you're running and training hard, because your body's just constantly in the fight or flight mode and moving and going. And I'm excited for you to be there in 3 weeks with me.
I kind of was there this week.
Yeah, what happened?
So I wasn't on the show last week.
Wah, wah.
Shout out Kaley for carrying the team for us on her back. So Indy was lit. Lightly set the water glass down. So we had Indy half, what was that 12 days ago? No, 10 days ago? 8 days ago? Which went really well. Really, really well. PR'd by 90 seconds. And if you want, my full race recap, I would go look at my Strava and follow me while you're there.
Big Strava guy.
But actually, though, I mean, they'll have the full recap there, but it went really well. And then we drove home that same day. And Sunday, I felt pretty solid when I woke up. Saturday, I felt great after the race in the car and like whatnot, and felt pretty solid when I woke up. And I went and lifted with a friend, and we went out to eat for lunch Sunday. And then Sunday night and Monday morning, I just kind of felt weird. Sunday night, it was like I thought it was anxiety, like in my stomach. I just felt anxious, a little nauseous, but like I was like, this is anxiety. I didn't really think much of it. So we saunaed and I went to bed. Then Monday I woke up and I was like, my stomach was like crampy kind of. And I was like, weird. And again, I've had like pretty wicked anxiety trips before where I'll like call off clients and like I'm pretty good at recognizing that. And I'll be like, you need to go home and take a break. You're just not present enough. And so I went to work Monday and around 9 a.m., I just could tell I was like, I'm not 100% with my clients. I'm going to be done at noon. So I texted my afternoon clients and was like, I'm going to be done today. I'm not feeling 100%. But then around like 12:01, my stomach was like, I got the most sick I've ever been. I threw up constantly that whole afternoon, Monday, and like couldn't leave our bed Monday afternoon. I didn't get out of bed until like, I don't know, 6:30. So I was literally in bed for 6 hours. Like, it was a mess. Like I ended up getting a fever.
I got a phone call at work. Still at giving treatments Monday, and you called up and you're like, Kaley, I think this is it.
I was on my deathbed.
This
okay,
is my final goodbye. I might not make it by the time you get home. I might not be here. So I love you. I just want you to know that.
And then I was like, and also, can you get me some 7-Up?
The one with the cherry on it, on the bottle.
Yeah. But so, and then Tuesday, I called all my clients off too. Went back on Wednesday. But that, we came off Indy and the plan was peak week, like 60 miles. And then this next week was going to be a lot, again, like the last 2 peak weeks of training, whatever. And I ended up getting the lowest week of miles I have ran in the past like 10, 11 weeks. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I was really excited about how I was running 50-mile weeks so consistently. And I was like, this is probably going to end at some point, but I really wanted to carry it through. And we planned on the half being the week in which it dropped down. And so that week it dropped down to 42. And then last week on Monday, before I had even thrown up yet, I decided, I was like, there's no chance I'm running today. I do not feel right. And then I was throwing up and was like, I can barely walk. Right. So, and then Monday I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to be getting above 50 this week. And then on Wednesday, I realized that I'm not touching 40, and it's just like, this is the peak week. So grappling with that. And luckily I've done this enough times where I'm like, okay, you have the fitness, you're not gaining a lot at this point. All this is kind of maintenance now. It is what it is. And like, it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Right. So yeah. So
when you have the other side of being a coach, and because I know like there was one day when you wanted to run, but it was like, okay, what would I tell my clients right now?
Right. I mean, that was every day this week. This week was a good example of why it's good to have a coach, because like Matt, when I told him I was good to run again, I told him, I was like, we can try on Wednesday. And he's like, don't go more than 4 miles. So I ran 4 miles. And then in my mind, I'm like, sick. We're doing 8 the next day. And he's like, no, you're doing 4 again. Don't go above 4. And then that third day we did 6 in strides. And that was partly because we wanted to try to get that long run in again. We wanted to try to get the long run we planned for on Saturday. Like the rest of the week was scrapped. Once you miss those first 3 days, it's like, okay, now you have to recover, and you have like 3 days at least where you're going to have to chill and kind of like build back up. And that's where having a coach is beneficial, because in my mind, I'm like, I need to be running 10 miles a day to make up for the 3 days I missed. And I am a coach, right? So, but the athlete side just starts coming into play. And so, so yeah, but I think we wanted to, going off of that, spend some time, the rest of the time here, talking about what it is we do when we get sick. Because ironically, we were going to talk about that like last week, because we had both just gotten sick with, I don't even remember what we were sick with, but both of us had gotten sick. And then I got sick.
And then you got really sick.
Yeah. So do you want to, going into the winter season, is there anything from like a TCM standpoint that you specifically wanted to say about illness and how like you are going to get sick at some point this in the next few months? Like that's just life, right? And anything that you wanted to, and then should we just both kind of share how, like what I just did this past week when I got super sick versus if you get like a respiratory thing, just different things like that.
Yeah. I definitely try to approach sickness like holistically. And so like you said, everyone is going to get sick. And I feel like I'm still kind of hard on myself when I do get sick. So it's like, I've done everything correctly and I eat well, I've been sleeping, but the reality is that you will get sick, and that's an okay thing, because that means that you're building up your immune system. And maybe there's, germs, whatever, that you haven't been exposed to before. And then you get sick. And then ideally, then your immune system is building itself up for then the next time that you're exposed to those same bacteria or viruses. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you did anything wrong. From a Chinese medicine standpoint, our immune system is called our Wei Qi in Chinese medicine. It's Weiqi, Wei Qi. And that's kind of like your defensive system. And I like to think of it as kind of like a cloak around you. And when you do come into contact with, we call external pathogens, so like bacteria, viruses, you're able to fight that off. And if your Wei Qi is deficient, like if you don't have a strong enough immune system, or again, it's just too strong of a virus that you're being exposed to, that's when we can get sick. And so I try to do everything, both of us try to do everything we can, again, to not get sick. And I feel like the things that we do to not get sick are then the things that we carry over like into when we also get sick. And you guys have heard, I talked about this last week too, but like eating and drinking warm things and like keeping your body very warm. And even when you get sick, it's okay to work up like a light sweat. So I talked about this last week when I was recording about how you were taking a bath. And that's one way to induce like a light sweat. And you want to make sure that your feet are covered. So you're wearing socks, slippers, you're wearing, you're using blankets. And this is even if you have a fever, because when your body temperature gets high, that's not always a bad thing. Yes, if it's getting super high, then yes, go in, use a fever reducer. Talk to your doctor. Don't just listen to me. But if your temperature is high, that's good, because that means your body is helping to fight off the virus. Like that's your body's natural way of healing itself. And so if we can support it by also inducing a light sweat, and if you think of, when you are breaking a sweat, how you'll wake up in the middle of the night and you'll be covered in sweat. And then usually you'll feel better after that. You'll feel cooler because your body's finally like been able to break that and now starts to cool down. So I'm a big believer in, I don't really ever take fever reducers like Tylenol, things like that, just because I don't want to diminish my body's ability to fight things off. And I think there's a lot of opinions out there about that, but I feel like both of us are like that. And I choose to, with the warm things, like drink lots of bone broth. And I have tons of herbs that I use. And like I talked about last week, there's so many different herbs, like based off of what you're feeling. So like you were having a lot of digestive things. So I gave you a lot of different formulas than if you had been like coughing up a lung and if you had had phlegm. But the cool thing is that there are so many different things you can take, including herbs to improve your Wei Qi or build up your immune system so that you don't get sick in the first place. And those are some of my favorite herbs around sickness are some of my favorites because a lot of them work pretty quickly. And especially if you can start taking them right off the bat, it helps so that the sickness doesn't get to like a deeper level and that your body's able to fight it off faster. And another big thing is, as much as you can continue to eat healthy when you're sick. Because if you're feeding your body with a bunch of junk, and this is the same for how I talk about like after you've worked out and like had like a really big like lifting session or workout, like you want to be fueling your body again. Because if you're putting in junk, you're just going to continue to feel like junk. And then your body's going to have no way of getting better because what you're putting into it is just making you sicker, basically. And again, like don't be super hard on yourself. It's like if you're craving like something, I'm not ever going to say like don't eat that. I just mean like the majority of your meals, try to eat like healthy as much as you can with like soups, stews, congee, which I just posted a recipe about, things like that, and like tons of liquids. Got you some. Can I talk about Pedialyte?
Yeah.
So like Jacob really wanted Pedialyte, and that's one of those things like that's not something that I personally do just because there's like food coloring and lots of sugars and stuff in it. And I personally like would do like an Element and like some sea salt and lemon water, things like that versus something like Pedialyte.
Yeah. I mean, or seven. I mean, I think one of the cool things about our relationship is that we differ in ways, right? So first of all, because I want to say this before it gets lost, the sweating thing. I do think that's really big because so the way we remove toxins from the body is peeing, pooping, sweating, and breathing. I guess and puking, but that's like drastic, right? Yeah. But sweating is one of the ways you remove toxins. So I am big on that. That's why we have fevers that make us sweat, right? So I didn't want that to get lost. But as far as like for me, when I get sick and kind of my thought process on how things go from the standpoint of like, we're going to use this week as an example, right? I mean, big build, there's a lot of stress going on, whatever. And really in my mind, I'm like, I can't afford to get sick, right? And then I get sick, right? So it's this first thing of like, okay, you have to accept that you are sick. And one, if you run through stuff when you're sick, depending on what it is, you hear about like long COVID, things like that, you might really mess yourself up. You can really, really mess yourself up.
You're just digging yourself into you're already in a hole, and you're just going to continue digging yourself in a deeper hole.
Yeah. And a light sweat is not going to running 60 minutes easy. Because newsflash, 60 minutes is never easy on your body, especially if you're sick, right? So it's kind of like, when I got sick on Monday, it was, okay, I'm going to do everything in my power to get healthy. And I knew that meant the odds were very low I was running on Tuesday, right? So that means I'm taking at least 2 full days off. And ideally, you have like a 24-hour mark where you are off after you like already have all of your symptoms that kind of go away and whatnot. Kaley is messing with dinner, so now I'm losing my train of thought.
Tuesday was off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
It's listening. I mean, I feel like the big thing is listening to your body. And if you are feeling sick and fatigued, like not trying to push through that.
Yeah. And so accepting that I was sick, and then I completely forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry. I think, and then in that point, like the rest is one of the most important things. Like you said, you came home and slept, and then you were up for maybe an hour, if that, got some liquids in, and then slept another like 10 hours. And I think if you can keep up on like the sleep, because sometimes like I'll get sick, and a lot of times it can just be because I've like burned myself out. I've been pushing too hard. And then finally my body's just like, Kaley, you need to like chill and just sleep. And then I'll get super fatigued for like 24 hours. And I think being able to listen to that, and I know that can be a privilege in some instances. I mean, I know that people have children and pets and other things that you're taking care of, and like a job, like sometimes I feel like both of us aren't the best at calling out because we don't have sick time, but we still can cancel patients and clients if we need to. And I feel like for some people that's not always an option, but if you do have the ability, take that time off for yourself to get better. Because like you said, with people with long COVID, I mean, we know people who have done races and stuff and pushed through that and are still like year or two later, like suffering from the repercussions.
Right.
And it's just not worth it because you just don't know when something like that is going to happen. And for you this week, like, it just wouldn't have been smart to have tried to run through that because we still don't know, like, if you had food poisoning or the stomach flu, like,
yeah, because no one else got sick. I didn't know anyone else that got sick.
Yeah,
I think it was food poisoning. I really do. But
it took you out.
But yeah, and I think kind of what I was trying to get at earlier was basically it came down to needing to just win what I could win, right? And so like you go from Monday at one point was a 10 mile run to Monday now is, can you get water in your system? Essentially. I mean, right? And then it's, okay, can you get electrolytes in? And then I texted you and I was like, or called you, whatever. I was like, can you bring 7-Up and Pedialyte? Because yeah, for the most part, Kaley and I see eye to eye on like the ibuprofen and Pedialyte and things like that. But in that specific situation, I was so down bad. So it's just kind of like, when does it become a mental thing, right? Because I was so like just defeated mentally and physically that I was like, 7-Up sounds so good right now. And my belly really wanted the carbonation. And so...
And I thought, sorry, side note about the 7-Up. I was just thinking about how we were talking about like when you get sick, how it's funny how you go back to like your childhood things. Mm-hmm. And like you said that's what you guys had.
Yeah, my mom would always go with 7-Up. Yeah. Whenever we were throwing up or like had stomach things like that. So I wanted that really bad. Yeah. Like I remember her bringing us like 7-Up and iced glasses. Right. So I just really wanted that. And then I was craving cooling beverages when body was so hot. So,
and it's like, that's okay. Like if that's what's going to like make you more comfortable and like bring you that comfort, that's why I said, like, you don't need to be perfect.
Well, and on Monday too, I was like, I'm not taking care of myself. That's the other thing. So it was like, literally the act of getting up to make an element packet was too hard to do. Yeah. And so if I didn't have you, I don't know what I would have done, I guess.
Well, I was like, because I was at work and like make bone broth, but it's like, when you're sick.
No, I literally, you were like, just make bone broth. And I was like, you don't understand. Like, I can't, I have enough energy to get up, throw up, and go lay back down for an hour before I do that again. Right. So, but yeah. And then Monday night, like I wanted a Chips Ahoy cookie. Like that sounded really good. And I literally hadn't eaten like anything all day. So I had that and then like oatmeal. Like that was
it's like get calories in your body at that point.
At that point, once I got through like the initial phase of the sickness, I was like, okay, now I need to start getting enough food in. And again, I had accepted Monday night that I likely wasn't running. One of my rules kind of is like, if I can't work, I'm not running. I think that's just right. Work first. If you can't go back to work, be on your feet. So I thought, okay, that means on Wednesday, ideally, I'm going to run. Ideally. So now in the next 30 hours or whatever, it's get as much food in as possible that you can stomach and whatever and feel better so that you can do that run. So Tuesday then became, all right, again, I'm not going to work, but I'm going to take the whole day off and I'm going to recover as hard as I can. Because now I wasn't like my stomach was a lot better. I wasn't, I think the fever went away at like 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. Tuesday or whatever. And the old me would have been, okay, I'm good enough. I'm going to go push through Tuesday now in the afternoon and go work 4 clients and fit people back in. But now I'm like, nope, you feel good. Take the rest of the day to recover again. So it's like that extra time. I felt good enough, right?
So you still weren't feeling great.
Yeah, but
yeah,
yeah. Well, and that's exactly, there's another point of like what we like try to push through, right? That was very hard for me on Tuesday to not go to work Tuesday night because I had that class and stuff. But it was definitely the right move to do, right? So, and then I think the next kind of thing in my mind became, again, win each day. Wednesday, it was like you have 5 clients or whatever now, and you have a 4-mile run. What are you going to do to make sure that you win that day, right? And it's win that specific day. Don't think about past times when you'd have however many miles in a lifting session, some intensity, and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Do what you can. Win the 4 miles because that's plenty for that day. So, and I think that, with kind of what you were talking about earlier too, about how like we're going to get sick. And even though we try to be healthy and do whatever, you will inevitably get sick still. And I think that it's important to remember that in the moments you get sick, one, it makes you appreciate like what your body does do for you, right? So I spent Thursday last week and Friday kind of just pissed off at my body. And I was like, Jacob, and then Friday I had this epiphany where I was like, Jacob, your body's working so hard for you right now. Like you should be thanking it. Like 4 miles, 3 days in a row is not a normal feat. It's not. It just isn't. Right. So remember that. And I guess there was a lift in there too and whatnot. Right. But it's like show gratitude because mentally the way you talk to yourself, that's going to promote faster healing too. Right.
Absolutely.
But then in addition to that, remembering if you do those steps that we just talked about, and you actually accept that like you need to chill, you need to rest, and you rest hard and make that the priority and win at recovery, you will bounce back faster. And all of the months, weeks, whatever, in which we've been eating relatively healthy and we take vitamins, or I take vitamins and I do, all this other, vitamin C, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That is so when I do get sick, I bounce back faster from the sickness and the sickness isn't as bad. I'm a firm believer that, I was like in rough shape on Monday, but I really think if I like didn't exercise and ate frozen pizza all the time and pizza rolls and never ate vegetables and blah, 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 that would have been a lot worse. Lot worse. Right.
And lasted a lot
longer. It probably would have lasted way longer. It's like amazing if you think about it. And I don't say this to flex because I have athletes that do this. You do this. Our circle does this. If you like kind of take a step outside of like the community that would like listen to this podcast and whatnot, most people, if they get sick like that, it's a week to fully recover back from that. Right. And it could partly be because of the steps they're taking while they're sick too, whatever. And there's probably privilege there too. I get that. But it's cool to see, like, I got sick on Monday. I didn't do anything Monday. Didn't do anything Tuesday. And I was back working and running Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then ran 20 miles on Saturday and was able to do that. Like, that's not normal, right? And that right there is the reason that we live the way we do and that we, practice the way we practice and everything.
It's all preventative care.
Right. So, and like, it's kind of a, tangent, I guess, but it's like the story of the person who runs every day their entire life and has a heart attack at 50 still, right? I'm still a firm believer that if that person lived any differently, they probably would have, had the heart attack earlier, right? So I really think that having that mindset and thinking like, again, like we get to do this episode, like life doesn't last forever, but we can do things to mitigate illness, injury, chronic sicknesses, etc.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, the things that we do in order to prevent sickness end up being, like I said, the same things once we do get sick, minus we're not working out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just really the rest part is huge. Resting before you get sick, resting while you get sick.
Sleep is powerful.
Sleep is like...
It's the number one performance enhancement drug.
People don't...
And water's number 2.
Understand. And food.
Yeah. Sleep. Hydration. Getting fluids in so you can get toxins through your body. Electrolytes for all the fluid loss you did have.
Yeah.
Nutrition. Those are... Yeah. And then, the supplements too. I'm big on supplements. And I forgot to mention the ibuprofen thing because I did take ibuprofen Monday. My head hurts so ungodly bad. Yeah. Like, and it's at some point it's like a, risk reward thing. And
and I'm not saying I'll take, haven't had to do this in a while, but like the occasional, I can't even think of what it is now, but like a med for a headache if it's really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm not anti-medication. It's just, I know that herbs, food, rest, all these other things are very powerful. And if those are not working, go see your doctor, take your medications, things like that. Mm-hmm. But I will always choose to start with the more holistic route because I know that's helping my entire body to recover versus subduing the fever, subduing the inflammation.
And if you have an illness below the neck, don't run or exercise.
And cover your neck, please, because the back of your neck is your wind gate. And especially now this winter with wind, I messed up on my bike ride today. I did not wear anything on my neck. And the whole time I was like, poor choice, Kaley.
Unbelievable. So one last question for like you in the situation that you're in this week. I get sick, you live with me, right? Someone has COVID, you get exposed to them, right? You will have this situation where you are very, very likely going to get sick. Now you didn't. Knock on wood. I did talk to someone actually, and they said that they got a stomach thing, and they were like kind of like me in the situation where their husband ended up getting sick, but it was like a freakish delay, like of 2 weeks or something, and then they got the same thing. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Anyways, though, when we talked about kind of what we do on a regular basis, but in that situation, do you go into like hyper aware? I know I do. So like, just kind of curious, like, do you go into hyper aware mode where you're like, myself, I'm like making sure I get vitamin C every day, if not like an emergency vitamin C packet. And I am watching the heck out of my diet. I'm getting as much sleep as possible. I might, try to avoid you a little bit, things like that. Like, is that like, how did you react to that? And then
I took my immune support herbs right away. And again, it's like about building up my immune system. So I took those immediately and have been taking them. Yes, I've been eating really well. Like but I feel like these are things I already do on a normal basis. Right. But yes, being more cautious about like what I'm eating. And I was trying to sleep when you were sleeping too, just because I knew that would be extra important for me to be more well rested. And I think for us, it's nice, I guess, being that I'm an acupuncturist, but anybody can do this, but to have stuff on hand just for if and when you do get sick. And I was drinking tea with like honey, because honey is like a very good antibacterial. And also like if you have like sore throats, phlegm, things like that, honey's very good for that. But yeah, and just like watching myself and like any symptoms that I'm noticing. But also I try not to get super hyper alert, because if I'm thinking I'm going to get sick, my chances of getting sick are going to be that much higher, just because my nervous system is like so anxious about getting sick. So I feel like I do kind of continue to live my life, because I feel like I'm exposed to sick people all the time. I mean, I see people in small rooms for extended periods every day. So again, I think that's why it's important to be doing all these things right off the bat. I mean, I guess I like acupuncture. I asked for like immune support during that too when I got treated this week to help with building up my immune system. Because acupuncture is extremely good for strengthening your immune system. So those are just a few of the things I did. But just don't get like super anxious about these things either, because you will get sick at some point. You can talk yourself into getting sick too, and that's also not healthy.
Episode 17.
We get to do this.
We get to do this. I got sick.
What's your we get to do this moment?
Oh yeah. We get to do this moment for me this week was running 20 miles after being super sick. And I saw multiple people out on the trail that would be like, Jacob, you look so strong, or give me encouragement. That was cool. There were 3 separate people that I saw. 2 were clients, and then 1 was a friend. And that was cool. That was cool. And then I ran with a buddy of mine, Travis, who we were running at like, I don't know, mile 17 or so. He could tell I was like starting to hurt pretty bad at the run we were doing. And at 3 miles to go, and he was like, all right, Jacob, remember, we get to do this. Hit me with my own medicine. So give me a little jolt of energy, but it was just, you just appreciate what you have when you don't have it, more. So.
I was feeling extra grateful this week, I feel like, but I feel like on, I think it was Thursday, we just invested in underground parking spots at our apartment. And
you're really big on this.
Well, I was just thinking, I might get to do this moment. And there's just some moments where you like look around and you're like, wow, like we have it really good, because I like went down that morning to my underground heated parking spot. Like, this is so nice. And then I went to your strength class at a beautiful fitness studio in North Loop, and basically had you as a personal trainer with one other person for the session. It was great. I couldn't walk the next day, but it was great. And then came home, got to work for a bit, and there were a few other things that happened that day too. But then we went to a friend's house for dinner that night, and it was just like a really good day. I'm like, wow, we have it really good. Oh, and then I came back to our apartment that's, on the 5th floor, big windows, tall ceilings. Like, I really like where we live. And I was like, I got to wake up next to my hot boyfriend and get to spend the day with, we didn't spend the day together, but, wake up together, end the day together. And I just feel very, very grateful most days, but I was feeling extra grateful this week. And especially because I was feeling good. So I was grateful for my health as well.
You've earned it. We get to do this.
We get to do this. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Glad to be back.
See you next week.